Okay, let's see what happens. I think that the aliens are attacking me right now. I don't know. Somebody's after me. Somebody doesn't want me going live tonight. I don't know what's happening here, folks. Mic check, December 18th, 2025. It's December 19th in Japan, and we have a Bank of Japan interest rate decision coming up. It's XRP versus Bank of Japan for tonight's live show, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by. We are going to run it up while we wait, and we're anticipating a 25 basis point rate hike from Japan. Is it priced in, is the question. And I just want to say thank you for everybody who's been here this week and still here with us at this moment. We are watching mass capitulation of the retail investor who is getting squeezed out of the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. This is not something that is just with XRP. This is with other good utility cryptocurrencies. It's not just with crypto, though. It's in regards to folks getting priced out of assets like gold and silver, folks getting priced out of real estate. You're going to own nothing and be happy. And so I just want to say, for those of you guys that are still here with us, you are going to make it as long as you stay focused on fundamentals, on utility. The only solution that they're going to choose is making that money printer go burr. Do they want to call it QE? Do they want to call it Treasury Reserve Management? We got a little check coming from President Trump to our troops, and that check's already landed because they've now moved it to digital. No more physical checks going out. It's all moving digital, and we got massive tailwinds on top of the fiscal and monetary tailwinds like the QE and rate cuts. We also have regulatory tailwinds in the form of the Clarity Act. And we have an update for you guys on that matter in tonight's update as well. And we got a full rundown here. XRP coming back down, presenting a great buying opportunity, at least in my eyes. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you to buy or sell ever. I just admit I am buying. I bought at $1.91. We come back down here today, and I'm just going to tell you right off the get-go that I placed a big buy order right above $1.60 because I'm going to be front-running that April low that we went down to after Trump announced the tariffs, and we went down to $1.60. On the 10/10 liquidation event, we went down to $1.77 on Coinbase chart. I don't really consider the Binance chart. I've explained that already a few times. And then we went down to $1.81 November 21st. But leading up to this week, we warned about the possibility of coming back down here. And I said that we've already dropped, 15 to 20% after the last 3 rate hikes from Japan. So have your orders ready. I got my order ready, and we're going to be buying the heck out of this thing, whether it be XRP or other good utility assets, digital assets that are going to run the new financial system. And sure enough, we've already made it about halfway to the levels that we were talking about. I said, this is a moving target. This is why you got to stay tapped in. We're watching this every single day by the hour. And what I was looking for was to see if we got a little bit of a rally leading up to the decision, right? A rally leading up to right now. We're going to have a decision from the Bank of Japan here in the next hour or so. We're going to stay up all night. If they delay it and it's coming in late, I'm staying right here with you because we're going to watch this thing in real time. And I was looking to see if we would get that run up, and my hope was that we'd get that run up because the last 3 times that they cut rates, XRP dropped by anywhere between 15 to 45%. And so I put out the PSA, I put out the warning, not just to my private group on Discord, I put it out publicly for everybody to be prepared. Now, the part that we really hadn't expected, but we were ready because we had our buy order set, was for the market makers to smack us up Monday morning. How you doing? Coming into work Monday morning, market makers said, how you doing? And they smacked us up back down to $1.90. XRP rallies back up to $2 on our Tuesday stream. We covered it. And on Tuesday night's live show, I said, guys, I still think we got another sweep below $1.90. And we mentioned that $1.81 low that we set on November 21. It was a higher low when we look back at the XRP chart over this past year. $1.60 in April, $1.77 on the 10/10 liquidation event, and $1.81 November 21st. We wanted to see us hold that. Like I said, I was hoping that we ran up before this interest rate decision so that if we did get that 20% pullback, it would be from $2.20 back down to $1.80. We didn't get that run up. And now we're getting the drop off before the decision is made. So some folks were saying that this was already priced in. Obviously, it wasn't all the way priced in because folks were saying that back when we were at $2 over the weekend when I put out the PSA. I had quite a few people that said it's already priced in. Now here we are below $1.80 and we broke through that level. And as soon as we broke through that level today, can you guess what I did? I set a massive buy order. Massive relative to my portfolio. It's all relative. But massive buy order relative to my portfolio and what I'm trading right now. And I'm looking to add to my XRP long if the market makers want to play, if the aliens want to show up, if the documents are actually going to drop tomorrow, if war pops off, you name the scenario. And I've said this over the past few years. It doesn't matter what black swan event hits, get in the right assets now, and you're going to prepare the same way regardless of what the black swan event is. See, when you're prepared accordingly, you don't have to worry about whether it be aliens, whether it be war, whether it be Trump announces tariffs. That one got us off guard earlier this year in April. XRP's broken down below that higher low we'd set in November 21st. And so now I'm looking, there's a little bit of structure and a little bit of activity in the $1.70 region. But if they really want max pain, and if we play it out like we've done, the last 3 times Bank of Japan raised rates, we're back down to that $1.60 level. And for Bitcoin, it's back down to a 72. Maybe we catch support a little bit above that, but it's back down to a 72K Bitcoin, and it's back down to $1.60 XRP. In these moments, I don't get greedy. I don't try to time the bottom. I literally try to front run the bottom. I'm not trying to make sure that I'm the last person on board that catches the absolute bottom. I'm happy to front run. I'm happy to cut in line because I know I'm going to be on the train. And so that's why I had my buy order set at $1.91. I was scared to buy at $1.80 last night. I told the Discord group, I said, we're all kind of feeling the same way. Scared to buy right now at $1.80 because if we break through $1.80, there's not much, action on the chart there between here and $1.60. And you have to be prepared for all scenarios. And what has made us the most successful has been putting ourselves in the mind of the market maker magicians. How are they going to make the most amount of money? How are they going to cause the most amount of pain? Prepare for that. That's done us pretty well. And so let's get right on into the update, folks. We're going to be breaking this thing down, waiting for the interest rate decision to come through live. As soon as it comes through, let me know in the chat. I'm going to be watching the chat. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. If you haven't already, please like the stream, share it out far and wide. Let's get everybody in here so we can have a live XRP versus Bank of Japan watch party. But we got a full situational breakdown for you guys here. We'll take a look at the XRP chart and the levels that we're watching. This is an update that you're not going to want to miss. Let's get right on into it. Now, this is the sentiment. Max capitulation, give up, cry, whine, Bitcoin archive, and especially if you're holding some of these crap coins, yeah, this is why we never delved into some of those. Bitcoin Archive says, I have never seen engagement so low. This is probably 2 times worse than the depths of the last bear market. 99% of the comments are AI bots. Yeah, it's obvious. If people weren't so mad fighting about QC or spam, it would be dead quiet. Is it the algo, or is there really zero retail interest in Bitcoin at 85,000? Now, this is the point that I want to say is you're going to be rewarding yourself for still being here. And I'm seeing this across the board. our numbers aren't at the peak that they were at during this last bull run when XRP was really tearing off, right? But our numbers continue to grow. And it's because of this community. And so I want to give you guys a shout out here and say thank you for your support as we get started. I've seen this play out before. We were making content all through the last bear market. I saw these guys. They left. They gave up. They started doing podcasts on Pokemon cards. I liked Pokemon too when I was a kid. Nothing against it. But I've seen all these guys come and go. We never left. You're never leaving. And that's why you're here tonight. That's why you're here tonight, and you're going to be rewarded. So I want to give everybody in the chat here a big shout out as we get started. Numbers are going down for others. Our numbers keep on going up, and it's because our community is so strong. God bless you all. It started this morning with inflation. Finally, we get the Bureau of Labor Statistics delivering a CPI lie. Thank you very much. November CPI inflation unexpectedly falls to 2.7%, below expectations of 3.1. Core falls to 2.6, below expectations of 3.0. This marks the biggest drop in U.S. inflation since March 2025. Inflation was well below expectations in November. Now, some people are calling BS. We've been calling BS the entire time. All right, it's always been manipulated. It's always been a lie. And for those of you guys that are saying inflation's coming down, what the heck are you talking about? You're not wrong. That feeling that you have, that shock on your face when you look at the receipt for the bill, whatever it may be, groceries, gas, the essentials to get by and to survive, they are still going up. It's just the rate at which the inflation is taking place has come down. Inflation's still 2.7% per the updated CPI lie, and we call this out. It was a lie under the Biden administration. It's a lie under the Trump administration. This isn't politics. So don't try to hit me with that angle. We've been calling this out, and we've been talking about the aggregate inflation compounded over the past 5 years. We must also note that Americans are still complaining about rising prices. It's because we have disinflation, not deflation, as prices are rising just at a slower pace. In fact, cumulative inflation since 2020 is now officially up to 25.2%. Consumers are still worried about inflation. Now, this brings us to Japan, right? This is not just in the United States of America. This is not just in Japan. This is a global margin call taking place across the planet. This is a fight against inflation taking place across the planet. And we're in this together. Wherever you're tuning in from, for the international audience, I just saw actually that over in Australia, shout out to the crazy Aussies in the chat. I know they like to tune in here on the late night lives. You're having to pay 100 Australian dollars to get you 1 ounce of silver. One little shiny coin that we were buying 20, 25, 30 bucks per ounce US. Now it runs up to $67 here in America. And over in Australia, the land down under, 100 Australian dollars to get you an ounce of silver. And so we're all in this together. We move over, though, to Japan. Mohammed El-Arian, very well-known and respected economist. Japan's November inflation numbers are out. The excluding fresh food measure, which, guys, this is why we say the whole thing's a joke. What inflation gauge means anything if it doesn't include food? They remove food, water, shelter. It's like, what conversation are we even having? But if you remove food, it held steady at 3% for the second consecutive month. With that, a 25 basis point hike to 0.75, 0.75%, or 75 basis points in a few hours is practically a done deal. So the good news is that we probably have been pricing this in. We probably have seen most of it, right? We've gotten a lot of downward action leading up to this. If you look at the previous rate hikes, we were getting pretty good action up, or at least consolidating, leading up to the Bank of Japan raising rates. So the fact that we've already kind of bled out before, is kind of like, we're removing the Band-Aid. We're getting this over with. And it's presenting a great buying opportunity for those that can take advantage of it. Now, this was an interesting post that I came across from Crypto Eddie. She found this Nomura Securities Group that made some interesting comments on the Bank of Japan and the carry trade. Takashi Miwa from Nomura Securities says a Bank of Japan rate hike to 75 basis points is priced in. Nomura FX strategist, I'm not going to try that name, says yen in the 140 to 145 range for 2026 is the expectations. And AMRO says carry trade remains profitable as long as the exchange rate remains above 133. So what's happening right now is it's unwinding slowly, and there's still a profitable trade to be had. Unless we get a big catalyst that causes the Bank of Japan to panic, we're not going to get the big one yet, right? It's going to take a big catalyst for the Bank of Japan to panic and then come in with a unexpected rate hike or a larger rate hike than expected. That's what will shake up markets. But for now, there still is that margin between taking out debt in Japan, taking it to go speculate somewhere else, U.S. equities, U.S. bonds, somewhere else. There still is a trade there. And so I know that there were some expectations that this could really break and unwind rapidly this year, but it just hasn't materialized yet. And yet's the big caveat, right? And this is part of that global margin call that I keep referring to. You have cheap debt that's no longer cheaper in Japan. You have what was cheap debt in the United States of America, mortgages at 2 and 3%, auto loans at, 5 to 10% that are now up, right? Private credit. It's all the liquidity is getting tightened up right now, right? And despite these central banks like the United States Federal Reserve lowering rates, it has not brought any relief because the bond market keeps giving that middle finger. I keep on talking about it. The bond market keeps on flipping off the Federal Reserve by sending the yields higher. Now, over in Japan, the yields are going up and the Bank of Japan is raising rates. So it's like the 1-2 punch. The bond market's selling off, going up, and the Bank of Japan is raising rates with it. And so that bond market over there is trying to price in continued rate hikes. And they know that inflation, it's calm for now, it's mild for now, but it's still present. Now, what happens next is the precursor to QE. And it starts with Treasury buybacks. It starts with the Federal Reserve saying that they're going to start buying short-term treasuries. They call it reserve management. But I've been saying, don't worry about playing semantics. Don't get lost in the sauce with the economist talking head pundits on CNBC. Just get to, what do we need to stack? What do we need to buy? You guys know the answer. Because the only solution that they're going to choose is making that money printer go burr. They can call it 5 different things. They can launch 5 different programs or more. It all takes us to the same destination, which is you better own hard assets, right? We get the announcement today that the U.S. Treasury just bought back $2 billion of their own debt today. That makes almost $6 billion this week. You add that to the $12 billion that they bought a couple weeks ago, which was a record for a 1 week. 1 week purchase of $12 billion of short-term treasuries. So not only is the Fed coming in with the backstop, the Treasury's coming in with the backstop, but don't call it QE. So as I'm saying, don't get lost in the sauce. Don't play around with semantics. We don't need to get too technical here. It's a backstop. It's stimulus. It is easing of conditions. And it all takes us to the same destination, which is these asset prices going a lot higher. So that's the QE. That's the lower rates, fiscal and monetary stimulus tailwind. Then we add that to the regulatory tailwind. David Sachs. We had a great call today with Chairman Senator Tim Scott, John Boozman, who confirmed that a markup for clarity is coming in January. Thanks to their leadership, as well as French Hill and Congress. We don't even have time to thank these guys. We don't got time to pat each other on the back here, David. I like David. I do like David Sachs, but come on, man. We don't got time to happy, slappy, pat each other on the back when we still don't got our Clarity Act passed here this year. But it's coming. We are closer than ever to passing the landmark crypto market structure legislation that President Trump has called for. We look forward to finishing the job in January. Let's get it done. QE, lower rates, regulatory tailwinds, and then we get into the XRP, secret sauce, which is the hidden opportunity that most of crypto's not seeing. They're not paying attention to XRP. For a brief moment, we got the attention of everybody. They didn't want to accept that we were running the bull run through the first part of 2025, and then when we rallied back up in July to a new high. But we were. And we're about to run it again in 2026. With XRP DeFi about to explode, the digital asset treasuries, the ETFs, all of the credit cards that now are rolling out where you can just swipe and spend your regular money. You're spending fiat to stack XRP. It's all taking us to the same destination. Do you have enough XRP is the question. More regulatory tailwinds. How about the U.S. Senate confirming pro-crypto Michael Selig as the CFTC chairman in a 53-43 vote? Carolyn Pham, who was the acting CFTC chair, she's leaving her post to go to MoonPay. And I'm excited to tell you guys that I actually did we just scheduled an interview with the CEO of MoonPay, Keith Grossman, who I had the pleasure of interviewing on stage at XRP Las Vegas earlier this year. But we're going to be getting Keith back on the show in January, so stay tuned for that one. And we're looking right now, you got pro-crypto SEC chair Paul Atkins, pro-crypto Carolyn Pham was running the show up until now. Now we'll get another pro-crypto chair, Michael Selig, and it's all running us up here on that Clarity Act getting passed. Now the European Central Bank is now saying it's urgent that we get some digital euro regulation, which is funny because this is what we said is the solution for Japan. This is the solution for the United States of America, stablecoins, right? And so they already passed stablecoin legislation in Japan, and their new bill, the new add-on to the legislation earlier this year allows issuers to stack 50% short-term treasuries to back their stablecoin in Japan. They need that. That's the solution. The solution is tokenizing the yen. I recommend putting it on the XRP ledger along with other blockchains as well too. But you got to get demand. You got to soak up those treasuries, which is why I believe they were able to rush through the Genius Act because they knew it was critical to restoring the reserve currency status. Now we see the European Central Bank shows up to the party. They want the legal framework done now so they can launch Europe's CBDC. The race to launch digital currencies is accelerating. You also saw, was that in the Marshall Islands that on the Stellar blockchain, they're rolling out UBI, CBDC, stablecoins. Now, the good news is that we're putting up a good resistance here in the United States of America against a CBDC. Other countries, other jurisdictions like the European Union, not so much. They're going towards CBDC, UBI, be a good boy, be a good girl, don't get in trouble, don't speak out. Make sure you behave yourself, or we might have to cut off your UBI check. So to all the Europeans in the chat, keep putting up the fight, but it looks like you're going down the path of the CBDC from the looks of it. But, you know, this goes back to a much broader problem that we really don't have time to talk about in tonight's update with the European Union. But at the end of the day, when all of this comes on chain, guess who benefits? The owners of the layer one. The owners of the layer one. Just like the owners, right, of the physical asset. Not of a derivative of it, right? Not of an ETF of it, although you can make some paper gains. But who benefits the most? The owners of it in physical form, the owners of the layer one in the digital asset form. And so as we've been saying over here in the XRP community, hey, I'm not going to be able to stop the European Union from doing CBDC. I'm not going to be able to stop China from doing CBDC or any of these other countries. But what can I do? That's what we should focus on. What we can do is stack a reserve currency that's ready to be a neutral bridge currency between CBDCs, stablecoins, and any other derivatives in tokenized form, whether it be tokenized gold, silver, real estate, bonds, equities, etc. Do you own enough of the layer ones of the new financial system? That's the question. I'm going to check the chat real quick. Do we have? Okay. Justin, this is breaking news. This is breaking news, folks. We have over 9,000 people with us in the live chat tonight. TikTok, YouTube, X, God bless all of you guys. The rate decision is in. I'm going to verify that, but it looks like we have the notice put out. 25 basis points it is. Confirmed. Chat, you are right. I believed you, chat. Just had to trust but verify, as we say in crypto. Trust but verify. There it is. Highest interest rates in 30 years over there in Japan. We got to stop and pause real quick to see what the market's doing. The market's bouncing back, folks. Chat, we're bouncing up to $1.84 for XRP. Was that the low? Now, we were watching this order block. We said, let's see if $1.81 holds. It didn't. We did break through briefly. And we went back to $1.77, which, funny enough, is... Oh, wait, let me fix my chart here so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's refresh it. The $1.77 level is the exact level we went to on the 10/10 liquidation event on this Coinbase chart. So yeah, we did break through the November 21st low, but we did hold this $1.77 for now. Remember, the fall in prices, Bitcoin's dropped by 20% the last 3 times the Bank of Japan has raised rates. And you know, if we were going to do the same thing, right? We were looking at Bitcoin going down to about 72,000, XRP potentially going down to $1.60. But the setup this time was we flushed it out by, let's measure, $1.77 is about a 12% drop from when I put out my warning. We were up above $2.01. A lot of people told me that it was priced in. And here we are. We got to fill our orders here at $1.77, which sets us up here. Nice tap on this support level. Not saying that we're completely in the clear, right? I mean, this announcement just came out in the last 15 minutes that I've been ranting maybe, right? So we're only 10, 15 minutes into this being announced. But the good news here is it looks like we've already priced in that rate hike in Japan. And that $1.77 low that we went down to today very well could have been the bottom. And I'm telling you, I'm going to show you the charts here later on some of the setups that we're observing here. The relief rally back above $2 is going to make people lose their minds. I've seen this so many times. Back when we were at 50, 60 cents before we took off in November of 2024, just going above $1, right? And I even saw this back in 2021. The FOMO that would kick in as we got above $1, right? And then we shot up to $2 in 2021, and then that was the end of our bull run. But the FOMO that kicks in on these big psychological numbers, it gets crazy because folks are scared. I was scared to buy last night at $1.80 because I was worried we were going to go down to $1.60. You guys have heard me tell the story about during the March 2020 crash, I was scared to buy at 10 cents because I thought it was going to 5. And I was also out here like an idiot with my little calculator. Ding, 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 ding. How much am I going to be able to buy if XRP goes to 5 cents? Well, guess what? That was wasted time. It never went to 5 cents. It bottomed out at about 11 cents and then rallied back up. And you've seen this before. As XRP breaks above $1, it's that psychological number that just kicks in that FOMO. Now, I'm not saying that we've bottomed out 100%. I'm saying that a relief rally is on the way. And XRP is going to go back above $2. And when it does, there's going to be a bunch of people that are kicking themselves for not buying under $2. Big psychological number. Don't let that be you. Now, I bought it at $1.90. I already did buy at $1.91. I warned that the order block was at $1.90. As I told you, I front run and I set my order at $1.91. That was filled, so I was able to buy under $2 here. And obviously, we're going to see what happens here next. We could still drop down, right? We already did half the move. If we finish the move, it's $1.60 to $1.65 for XRP, and it's about 72 to 76,000 for Bitcoin. And people are going to be calling for the end of the world. People will be saying, they already are. We're seeing the mass capitulation across the board. And you know what I love is the XRP community's conviction. We really have a thesis. Unlike some of these other fair weather fans in crypto, the XRP community, the only comparable community I've ever seen is Bitcoin. Right? Some of the Bitcoin purists, they have the same level of conviction as us, right? Where they're not going anywhere. They just continue to buy. God bless them. For us, it's probably the same, if not stronger, than that crowd. I laugh when they call us a cult. I view that as a compliment because it's a cult backed by real conviction, real fundamentals, real utility, a real foundational layer of a new financial system that we want to create that can actually handle a new financial system, unlike Bitcoin. And so don't get caught off guard here, trying to get too greedy, trying to get too fancy. Wherever you think that the bottom's going to be at here, don't get too caught up in, I could have bought 5 cents cheaper. I could have bought 10 cents cheaper. I could have bought 15, 20 cents cheaper. I'm happy to buy at $1.91. I'm going to be very happy to buy at $1.60 when I front run that level as well too. I will be very happy. And all of this taking place, and I really got the sense of it at Ripple Swell, where on the street level, you see chaos, you see frustration, you see anger, you see stress. And then you go up 24 floors there at Hudson Yards to the Ripple Swell conference. And you step into a nice, pleasant room full of bankers and people in the payments industry. No stress. No concern. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to build out the new financial system and make a boatload of money doing it. It's two different realities. And you're seeing it in the data with a record day of ETF volume. We hit over $60 million worth of trading for the XRP ETF. Not only are we seeing record-breaking ETF volume, we're seeing more inflows into the XRP ETFs than we are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, this might be a surprise to the rest of the crypto space. This is not a surprise to this community, is it? When we broke the day one ETF volume record for a launch day with the Canary Capital ETF, that was a surprise to the rest of crypto and definitely to the rest of Wall Street. Hey, what's this XRP thing? This Canary Capital, who are they? XRP, 57 million of volume day one. And I just had Sal Gaberti on the show, who brought the first XRP ETF live back in April. And he said a successful ETF on Wall Street sees about 25 million. That's a success. And we did 57 million day one volume for Canary and over 200 million in inflows day one. And you're seeing the inflows are pouring in. Now, Ripple did see the 21 shares, and we are watching, right, to see what Ripple does here going forward. And I'm going to talk about this in my next update. You guys aren't going to want to miss this next update, because guess what I did? You know what happens when I print out the documents? You know what happens when we print out the documents? We bring you the analysis that not many other people are putting together. And it's a conversation about this Clarity Act and the mature blockchain rule and wording that they've put in there around 20%. Now, I got it on good word that, in fact, I actually spoke with somebody at Swell who said they don't want to sell anymore. We're talking about speaking to Ripple. And obviously, one employee's opinion is just that. It's not the position of the whole company. But from what I was told, it's a pretty common opinion that they don't want to sell any more XRP. That spigot that I've been talking about, that we're going to be watching to see if they turn it up and let it flow a little bit more out of the escrow, or if they're going to cut it off and turn it off. What happens next with this Clarity Act is they have to get their holdings under 20%. And they're sitting at what, 35, 40 billion XRP, give or take? They're going to have to distribute this XRP out. In the conversation that I had with a gentleman at Swell, he said, this is the best scenario we have because we can now sell XRP without impacting the price negatively forever into the future. And we already know about all the pre-allocation contracts. So it's just a matter of who's going to get the XRP, which banks, institutions, which ETFs, which digital asset treasuries. And it's not just Ripple selling OTC to, ETFs, DATs, other institutions, other banks. Now we're having a conversation about adding staking to the XRP ledger as well, too. See, this gets interesting to where Ripple could build out some sort of liquidity pool, right, for staking and add in some staking rewards on top of some liquidity pool or something like that, right? They have many options as they add this programmability to the XRP ledger. And the bottom line, what everybody needs to get across here and really understand, it's not ever going to impact the price of XRP negatively. Now, when the OTC dries up and the dark pools dry up, that's when you see the supply shock. And it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And, it's like our good friend Andy Sheckman would say with precious metals, gold and silver, I'd rather be a few years early than a few days late. When it comes to that supply shock, and look at what's happened with gold and silver now. Here I was, little guy trying to stack up some metal, and I thought it was expensive at $2,000. Now we're at $4,300 per ounce gold. My silver, I thought, well, it's getting kind of expensive up here at $30. $67. My XRP at 50, 60 cents. Let's wait for it to go back down. During the 2020 crash, 10 cents. No, this is the end of the world. I'm scared. But I also was a little bit too greedy. Punching numbers into my calculator like an idiot. I should have thrown every last dollar I had. Because now you're up at a $2 XRP compared to a 10-cent XRP. I said, now's not the time to play games and get too fancy. Allocate what you can. Don't overinvest. Don't leverage. And continue to stay the course. We are cleaning out this crypto space. We are cleaning out bad debts in the broader markets. Private equity, private credit. We're seeing big cracks showing there. As all of this gets cleaned out, it is healthy overall for our markets. And specifically in crypto. Let's get back into it. Raoul Pal, which, by the way, I was laughing. This morning I dropped a video breaking down the business cycle and liquidity cycle. And I had a couple of people that were like, oh, now you're just copying Raoul Pal. And I was laughing because I actually haven't watched Raoul Pal's content in quite some time, right? I've seen clips of Raoul Pal circulating around, but I really didn't know, what he was talking about in regards to the liquidity and business cycle, right? That's not how I found this analysis. And when I found it, right, I just dug into it myself and I found the correlation myself. I went to the PMI chart, which is the ISM Purchasing Managers Index. It's a great indicator of the health of our economy. And then I looked at this liquidity cycle. Obviously, we've been talking about this all year, about how the Fed raised rates at the fastest pace in history, kept rates elevated, and then they were doing quantitative tightening, right? And I commented back at somebody this morning. I said, well, I haven't watched Raoul Pal's content, but I highly respect him. So if he's saying the same things that I am, there's probably something to it, right? And just like with XRP content, we don't want me to be the only guy talking about XRP. We want multiple content creators, right? We all bring something different to the table. And I don't pretend to be, any smarter than any one of these guys. I just focus on my analysis and my platform. But the fact that Raoul Pal is onto the same thread tells me that we're in the right spot, that we're in the right analysis, which is understanding that the liquidity cycle is about to turn back up in 2026 and the business cycle is about to turn back up in 2026. And that's when you see your alt season. And as we've been talking about, we're still feeling the ripple effects of 1010. He says, when I distill down October 10th, I get to this. Binance broke, the world's largest exchange. The API shut down for market makers, and everyone got liquidated. Most market makers were not able to backstop liquidity. It spread across exchanges. These exchanges that have their own market makers or the ability to backstop prices probably absorbed a huge amount of liquidation in small caps and majors. Someone had to step in. The equity flash crash in 2010 was similar. That inventory, much like on a large market making desk or program trading desk in equities, has to be unwound to reduce the extra risks they took on. There has been tens of billions of backstop liquidity to unwind, some at huge losses, some at amazing profits. It is not market manipulation. If there was any, it was in the backstopping of prices when market makers couldn't due to technical issues. This is what we are seeing today in my mind. Those that backstop the liquidity need to de-risk. In program trading, we would see the same. Everyday liquidations to average out over time and reduce impact as much as possible. Things are not liquidity right now, so it has a large impact. I think he meant to say things are not liquid right now, so it has a large impact, right? Volumes are down. Year-end audits and market liquidity constraints around year-end mean that a lot needs to get finished now. This too shall pass. We've been talking about this, right? That Tom Lee runs around on CNBC every single day, pretty much, knows the market makers that got wiped out, and he said there was actually a few, but he wasn't going to name them. And I argued, I said, this is the problem that we've been up against in crypto this entire time, right? Has been, the Ethereum insiders that we weren't allowed to call out. We weren't allowed to talk about ETHgate because it was a bad look for crypto. We weren't allowed to talk about the market makers that got bust on 1010 because it's a bad look, right? We weren't allowed to talk about the VCs that were pumping and dumping Solana because it was a bad look. Now there's a class action lawsuit against Pump Fund and Solana, proving, or at least alleging, that there was technical abilities for them to front run people on the Pump Fund platform, and Solana was in on it. Go figure. But we can't talk about that, right? But we did. We will, because we want to clean up this space. If market makers went bust, that's fine. We'll get new market makers, right? If Pump Fund goes away, our crypto space will survive. In fact, it might do a little bit better. Ethereum, if that's going to be, if it truly is the layer one of the future, right? we should talk about, some of the problems that it's had in the past and some of the problems that are still present. The fact that, fees are down here now, right? But this has been what we've been up against this whole time, is that we were put in the corner and then we were literally sued by the government. And we were focused on putting up our own defense. And so it kind of drew us away from, everybody else who really deserved to actually be investigated at the bare minimum. Not saying that anybody had to get in trouble, but just saying, hey, here are the bad actors. We have all the receipts, but we weren't allowed to talk about that. Fast forward to 2025, market makers are going bust. Tom Lee knows who it is. We can't talk about that. And we wonder why we continue to bleed out. As Raoul Paul says, this guy has experience. He knows what he's talking about. You don't just liquidate your entire position today, right? If you need to unwind a position, you try to do it steady, consistently, and slowly as to maximize what you can get, maximize the amount of dollars that you can get for that position, right? If you need to unwind 20,000 Bitcoin, you don't just go dump 20,000 Bitcoin on the order books. You're going to set sell orders every single day. 2,000 Bitcoin, 2,000 Bitcoin, 2,000 Bitcoin, and conduct it over that time. And so from October 10th until now, this is why we're still bleeding out. Wintermute and exchanges went crazy before Japan rate hikes. Coinbase dumped 5,700 Bitcoin. Binance dumped 5,000. Wintermute dumped 4,000. Bybit dumped 3,000. Fidelity and Whales dumped 2,500 each. This is not retail. Something bad is coming. Market makers being forced to unwind positions. And this is why I call it a global margin call. I've been talking about how it goes all the way from the biggest hedge funds and institutions in the world, the biggest central banks in the world that are having to unwind positions, all the way down to Joe Blow retail crypto trader who got liquidated and has to unwind a position. That's the global margin call. But for those of us that are responsible, those of us that are here for long term, those of us that are focused on utility, we know we're buying these assets under fundamental value. So this just becomes more of an opportunity for us. Now I'm going to show you a chart here next from X-Force Global, getting into XRP. We're going to take a look at the XRP chart, and then we're going to get into rapid fire Q&A. Like I said, I'm not saying that we bottomed out. We very well could have priced in a lot of this rate hike from Japan, and we could have bottomed out. Maybe we're going to go down to $1.60. Maybe we go down even lower. X-Force Global is going to show us on the chart that potential. He says this is going to be one of the biggest fake outs in the history for XRP if the expanded flat plays out. By the way, guys, if you haven't liked this video, shared it out far and wide, please help us do so. Let's run up the chat here tonight. We're about to get to rapid fire Q&A. God bless all of you guys. Thank you for being in here tonight. We're breaking it all down live. This is going to be one of the biggest fake outs in the history for XRP if the expanded flat plays out. Wave C will break market structure that will lead to panic, then to insane new all-time highs. This is basically the final straw for XRP, or it risks a multi-year bear market. Oh boy. Let's take a look here at this chart. Now, I know that this is not very zoomed in, so I'm going to try to zoom in on this for you guys here. He has us potentially, if we break through this structure here, this $1.60 low here back in April, like I mentioned, right? Back here in April, this $1.60 low, we break below that, right? We have this potential here. He has us going down potentially to a $1.50, $1.40 region. And I could see that being a pivotal point for us to bounce off of, right? Big psychological level, big support. We got some trading action back here in November when we started to make our climb up here. So after $1.60, you have support between $1.40 and $1.50. And this would just bring in max pain and capitulation, right? A lot of people would be giving up here. But then you go into this breakout into 2026 that takes us back to all-time high. Now, what I'm going to show you next here, and just so you can see where he has us going, it's all the way back up to a $5 XRP. Now, funny enough, if we slide over and check out our chart from our good friend Cassie Trades, who I think has done a pretty good job of counting the waves, pulling the fibs, and I appreciate the TA. She says this is playing out beautifully. XRP going back down to $1.64, Bitcoin going back down to 79. And then blasting back off to a new all-time high. The point being, what I'm trying to get across to you guys is, if that was the low there at $1.77, and we've priced in the rate cuts and we're about to start moving up, we're on our way to a new all-time high in 2026. If the X-Force Global scenario plays out, expanded flat down to $1.40, we will bounce off that level to a new all-time high. Shoot, if they nuke us down to $1, guess who's going to be backing up the truck like never before? Myself and many of you guys in the chat. I already know it. Are you kidding me? It will not last long. But let's just say aliens show up, something else bad happens over there. The world seemingly comes to an end or a halt. I already told you I'm buying the alien invasion. I can't wait for that moment. That is going to be one of the best live shows that we ever do. On one side of the screen will be the 17 motherships over the cities. And on the other part of the screen is going to be the chart. And I'm going to have my phone here, or I'm going to be placing my order somewhere. And we're going to be live streaming the whole thing. The 17 motherships are here. XRP falls. We're going to smash the buy button, just like I'm asking you to smash that like button for me if you appreciate what we do here. What I'm trying to get across to you guys is that the inevitable rally back above 2, back above 3, back to a new all-time high is coming in 2026. If you missed the update that I dropped this morning, it was a nice, tight, concise update, less than 15 minutes. Everybody can spare 15 minutes. If you are confused about this market, I've had some messages come in here lately. Zach, it's not looking good. Give me some hope. This morning's update lays it all out there. There's a reason why we can stand here so firm that the bull run returns. Because we know they're backed into the corner, and we know they're too weak, and they have no you-know-what to default and say, we messed up, we're going to hold ourselves accountable, not everybody gets paid. They won't do that. And so they return to QE. We return to lower rates. And President Trump wants to win these midterms. He's going to juice this sucker. And this market's drunk. That's what's happening here. We have way too much leverage. This market's drunk. What happens is we party too hard, right? After the election, this market blasts off, and the ISM Purchasing Managers Index, the PMI, goes back into expansion above 50 right there at the beginning of this year, January 2025. Sure enough, what was happening? Alt season. XRP to 340. All of the other altcoins were actually going up, and it felt like the alt season was here. It felt like America was back. It felt like our economy was just going to start ripping right away. But then what happens is the high wears off. You wake up the next day and you, oh crap. Whoops. And we realized that there's still a lot to unwind. There's still a lot to fix. And we're still up against the Federal Reserve that was working against us. They weren't delivering rate cuts. They were doing quantitative tightening. They were making it more difficult for us to get the economy going again. And before that, they raised rates at the fastest pace in history, effectively rug pulling America. And so we rallied and had a time of our lives party from November 4th through January. Most altcoins topped out around that time and then have been in a bear market for 10 months. And now we're getting ready to party again. And we're going to do it all again, where Trump's going to juice this economy. I believe that the checks that went to the troops here was easing us in and conditioning us for further stimulus checks. Right? It starts with a group to the troops. Nobody can argue that. Warrior checks, right? Who's going to speak out against that? Who's going to be against that? Nobody. What is it? It's inflationary. Now, thank you for the cowboy hat there on TikTok. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you for liking the video. I want to send a check to our troops. I like that. That's great. I'd like to bring our troops home too. I'd like to do some other things with our troops and not get entangled in so many dang wars. But I won't digress. And so it starts with that. He's going to juice it. We're going to get his Fed chair in. Remember, this has nothing to do with whether you like or hate President Donald J. Trump. Has nothing to do with my opinion of him. It's just factual. What's about to take place? They're going to juice this sucker. New Fed chair is going to come in May, unless Trump has a card that we don't see yet, and we get a new Fed chair in before that. Maybe Jerome Powell decides to bow out. But by May, guaranteed by May, we have a new Fed chair. And you know where we're going. We're going back to low rates. And President Trump, who, prides himself on being the king of debt, how do you erase the debt? Well, you either default and write it off, which he potentially could do some of that. The other option is that you inflate and destroy the value of the debt, which is the outcome most likely for him to take. And so in 2026, the liquidity comes back. The business cycle comes back. And mark my words, it's moments like this when everybody's gone that you want to be getting in. Not only are we in, you want to be getting in even further. The more crying you see in the comments down below, the more buying you should be doing. At least that's my mindset. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but that's my mindset. Because that's when the buying opportunities take place. When retail comes back, bring it back 12 months to January. Do you recall? Right? Really take it back to there. America's back. President Trump's coming in. We're getting rid of Gary Gensler. We're electing the most pro-crypto Congress. We're going to get a Clarity Act. We're going to lower rates. We had a party. Everything was pumping. President Trump launched a meme coin. Well, not even really he did, but that's a whole other story. We had a party. I'm telling you now, get your lady, get your significant other. You tell her to put on something nice. Go fill up the keg or go get a bottle of something nice. Or if you're not into that and you party sober, that's great too. I've had some great times with, well, I won't get into that. There's some great people that don't need a drop of anything to have a good time. You had a couple of those weddings. Like, what are those people on? Nothing. You're like, oh, okay. They know how to party. You might know who I'm referring to. Get ready for the party. It's coming back. Pick out the songs that you want to request for the DJ. Tell your wife to put on, get her outfit ready. Get your favorite bottle. We are coming back. And when you stand alone and apart from the masses, that's when you know you're in the right place. They can't see what's coming. And let me make one quick caveat. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat who might be tapped out, frustrated, but you don't take your anger or your frustration to the comments. You don't project your frustration and your stress, your economic situation on the XRP community. Some people like to do that. But I want to give a special shout out to the people that don't, because that takes real power. That takes real strength. And I've been there before, where you're having a bad time. Your lady's mad at you. I always say this. Just because your girlfriend's upset with you, don't take it out on XRP. Right? Just because you made your old lady mad does not change the fundamentals about XRP. And that's the joke. I like to make a joke out of it, but it's real, right? Whether you've gone through a job loss, whether you're piled in with debt, whatever it may be, right? Health problem. I mean, I'm happy to be alive right now. I just had my 3rd heart surgery, right? So I'm right there with you guys, right? I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat who doesn't project that negativity out here, because it's not necessary and it's not relevant. It's not relevant. When I'm making a video about XRP fundamentals that has nothing to do with price, and you see these people come in and they're crying about it's like, man, I feel bad. They must be having a bad day. I know sometimes I get in trouble too. But I can sit back and say, this doesn't change the trajectory of my business. It doesn't change the fundamentals about my investments. And in fact, during these times, if you rise up to the occasion, it's only going to make you stronger, especially as an investor. This is psychology more than anything, really, when it comes down to it. And so I did want to give a special shout out tonight. I was walking my son. He was riding his bike and I was walking with him and I was thinking about that. And I was thinking, I got to give a shout out to all the people in the chat, because I know it's not hard. I know sometimes you want to, and I say, sometimes I joke and I say, you can take your anger out, just drop it in the comments down below and smack the thumbs down for me. We appreciate the engagement. But I really do respect it. For all of you guys that are still here, staying positive. I know these are trying times, and I know, because I've seen some people say, oh, that's great that you can buy the dip. It is nice, but I also sacrifice a lot, right? I mean, I'm not saying I have the hardest life, but I show up every day, right? We've been working every day. And the reward that comes on the other side of this is going to be so worth it. Now, I want to get to rapid fire Q&A. The upcoming video that I have, you guys are going to really like this, because what I'm going to do is we're going to explain XRP distribution and new liquidity, I think is going to be the title of it. I was thinking of it earlier this morning. And what I'm looking at here is the bill. Let me slide on over here. In fact, let me see if I can do that. Yeah. I'm going to bring your attention to page 130 of the Clarity Act. This is when it starts to get into a mature blockchain. And what you'll see right here is it says, oh, whoops. That's not it. It's 103. 103. I got it printed out right here. Yeah, it's 103. You go to 103, page 103 of the Clarity Act, and you start to scroll down, and it gets into system governance, and it says that no one party can have more than 20% of the voting or more of the outstanding voting power. Okay. You scroll on down to page 105, and it gets into ownership. And it says no digital commodity issuer, digital commodity related person, or digital commodity affiliated person beneficially owns in the aggregate 20% or more of the total amount of units of the digital commodity. And this Clarity Act, if passed with this language, right, would force Ripple to distribute the XRP and get it under 20%. So like I said, you guys are going to love this next breakdown because I'm going to run through it. There's still a bunch of people that think that Ripple dumps 1 billion XRP every month. That's not true. But we're going to explain the distribution that's been taking place with the Ripple escrow mechanism, how it works, and then we're going to speculate a little bit on how that distribution could take place going forward. And I'm going to run through the scenarios of Ripple, helping to fund some more of these ETFs, Ripple funding more digital asset treasuries like Evernorth, and I think that's a great option, right? They already gave $200 million to Ashish Birla and the new company Evernorth over there. With XRP DeFi and the ability for them to maybe provide liquidity for some sort of liquidity pool, staking rewards, or something of the sorts, right? Those types of options that Ripple now has going forward to bring those holdings under 20%. And then from the chatter that I'm hearing, basically directly from the source, is they don't want to sell any more XRP. They really want to stop selling. And this brings us to the new scenario, the new reality with their OCC national bank charter getting approved. And the ability that they would have to keep that on their balance sheet, lend it out, use it. The options are really, there's quite a few. And it gets us to that point where Ripple turns off the spigot. And we get that supply shock that you guys have all been hoping for. Before I get into rapid fire Q&A, you guys can start dropping your questions down below. I do want to plug our sponsor real quick, guys. I feel so passionate about this. Getting our community access to their retirement funds to crypto, and iTrust Capital even allows precious metals as well. You can roll over an existing 401k or other retirement account to an IRA with iTrust Capital and start investing in crypto today. It couldn't be at a better time right now to have partnered up with iTrust Capital. You can fund your Roth IRA up until April 15th of 2026, but you might be wanting to get that done sooner rather than later as we approach the lows of where we're currently at. You get that $100 funding bonus when you use my link on down below. That's right at the top of the description. iTrust Capital. Use the link, $100 funding bonus, and get that set up. They also do have the premium custody account as well. Now let's take a look at it real time before we get to the questions. XRP at $1.84. So it looks like our market is responding well. Bitcoin starting to move back up here after filling the order block that we had drawn out. Like we said, the full move would bring us down to 72% if we were going to drop 20% again. But it looks like we caught a support here at 84.5, which is basically right at the top of this order block that I had drawn out, and right below the 702 fib that I have right here. So looks like we may have bottomed out, starting to move back up. Let's go rapid fire Q&A. If you guys haven't already, please help us out by liking this video, sharing it out far and wide, and let's get into your guys' comments and questions. Thank you so much for stopping by. We got Mrs. Claus coming in to get it started. Son of a nutcracker. This market is making me feel like I need to go to the South Pole for a vacation. I have a feeling we're going lower still. So your 160 sounds spot on. Merry Christmas to you and the family. And get those orders placed, because if it comes, it's going to come and go very quickly. Very quickly. Dennis says, and shout out to you, Mrs. Claus. Appreciate you. BlackRock won't file XRP ETF until Clarity Act passes. Dennis, that's the one we're waiting for. We know as soon as BlackRock admits that it's game on, as soon as they admit that, yes, they are going to be selling an XRP ETF, the $12 trillion asset manager, once they admit It is game on. And don't get left behind. Preston Jeter, appreciate it. What are the chances of XRP dropping to $1 or less? I want to load up the truck even more. Very low. Very low. Big support at $1.60. Big support between $1.40 and $1.50. Way too many people would be front running $1. So like I said, it literally has to be aliens show up, nuke goes off, something else catastrophic happens, and I don't want to speak that into existence, so I'm praying for peace. I'm praying that if the aliens do come, they're nice. And we know that we have the intergalactic reserve currency, so it's not a big deal. They'll probably want some of our XRP. And, the odds are very low. They are very low. Now, the supported $1.60 is not even really that strong, right? We hit it back in April. But between $1.40 and $1.60, you do have some structure there on the chart. So I would say the lowest that I could really see us going back down to is $1.40. $1.40. But I'll be front running that. And so will our community. So, for the market makers to push it down below that, they're going to have to be pushing it through me and through all of you. And just alone, it might not feel like that much, whether you're just placing a buy order for $500 or some of you guys that I know. Like I guys, if you could sit in my spot here and field the one-on-one calls and the messages that I'm getting every day of people that want to allocate 6 figures or more to this asset on a regular basis, then you would understand why I'm saying there's too much buy pressure. There's too much new money coming in, and it's mature money. It's not crypto bro money. It's 65 with $1 million to allocate or more. It's regular people who have just been working for decades and have 50,000, 100,000 to allocate to crypto right now. I have people asking me regularly, what's the best platform for me to allocate 100,000 to XRP right now? That's a question I've been getting frequently lately. I'm not making this up. This is, I'm taking one-on-one calls every single day. By the way, if you want to book a one-on-one with me by the end of the year, you're going to have to get on the schedule here ASAP because the schedule's filling up. Between Christmas, everything else going on, we already have filled up a lot of the schedule. And so if you're looking to get in touch with me before the end of the year, get the call book now. But between that, the messages, the comments, and it's not crypto bro. It's not, hey, I'm looking to throw a little bag here so I can flip it, and do something cute. It's, hey, I'm looking to park 100,000 in XRP and I'm holding it for 10 years at least. I talked to another guy the other day and we're talking about how much XRP, and where to keep it at, right? A lot of people have been asking me lately, where can I secure my XRP at? And so we've been having a lot of those calls. But I ask people, I say, are you planning on selling any XRP? No, not till $100. Then I might sell a little bit. I can't tell you how many people at Ripple Swell. I'm talking to bankers. These are guys that work at banks that you would know. And first off, I was surprised that they watched my channel. And second off, I asked them, well, what do you think? You're going to be holding on to this or what's your plan? Oh yeah, we're holding on to it forever. I talked to one of the biggest YouTubers out of Korea. I forget his name. I have his business card on my desk right here. And I was looking at maybe collaborating with him because the Korea XRP family is massive. And he's got one of the biggest YouTube channels over there. And I was talking to him and his friend. And I said, well, what do? You guys trade at all, anything? No, we're holding forever. I'm telling you guys, the amount of people in our community that are holding for $100 plus and the amount of new people coming in that are looking to allocate so much money and they plan on holding forever. These are not people like, you have a lot of people, I think, that are going into other cryptos just to make more dollars. Full stop. I mean, that's from the small meme coins, but even new people going into Bitcoin. Even new people going into Ethereum. Going into SWI. Going into all this other crap. They don't believe in it. They don't have a thesis about any of these being a reserve currency. And they can call us whatever they want. Call us a cult. Call us whatever. They're going to find out what happens when you have this strong of a conviction. These Bitcoiners are talking about their numbers going down. We have over 21,000 people tuning in to the show tonight. We haven't had numbers like this in a long time. That's a testament to the XRP family. It's a ghost town over there. Our numbers, we're still setting records. XRP today set a new high for daily volume for the ETFs. It's a ghost town over there. And guess what? This is all before we actually get DeFi and the ability to actually use our XRP and have new issued assets on the XRP ledger and really get our ecosystem. You can say that XRP ledger is a ghost chain, and relatively speaking to Solana and Ethereum and some of these others, sure. Yeah, we're guilty. But why is that? Two reasons. One, we haven't had programmability. We're still working on some of these amendments, and our DeFi is coming. I mean, we didn't get an AMM till about 2 years ago. We're late to that, right? So there's nothing for our developers to do, and we're missing a little bit of an opportunity there. Sure. The other part of that is there's just a bunch of us crazy people who are parking this. When I say we are burying it in the backyard, some of you guys are almost literally burying it in the backyard. It's buried in your safe or with, your in multiple locations, right? Buried, never to come back out. And if it is coming back out, it's going to be for DeFi opportunities for sustainable yield, or it'll be from the centralized providers. And I keep on having these conversations with folks. They keep on asking me about all these different people. Hey, what do you think about Flare? What do you think about Doppler? What do you think about this yield? What do you think about that? And my answer is remain the same. Let them come to us. He or she who has the gold makes the rules. We have the gold. So it's up to what are we going to accept for us to give up our XRP in return of some promise of yield, to give up our XRP to lend it out for any of that DeFi opportunity, or if it's in a centralized form. I just keep on saying, let them come to us. Let the Clarity Act get passed, which will give rules of the road for DeFi and not just decentralized finance, but also for, centralized offerings. And in the next 12 months, you will be sitting across the table, metaphorically speaking, from Flare, Doppler, Axelar, other DeFi opportunities, the XRP Ledger AMM. We get into centralized opportunities, Bank of America, Bank AYZ, XYZ, down the list. And they're all going to be sitting across the table from you with a different offer. Some more risky, low yield, lending, borrowing, liquidity pool. And you let all of that play out. Establish a track record. Let the rules of the road be laid. And in the meantime, the most important thing is securing that XRP. And don't get anxious and give it up. Oh, I saw this cute DeFi. I saw this cute offer that came by. And you give up all your XRP or a big chunk of it. And then you get hit with a Celsius. I've had dozens of people over the years talk about, every time I've brought this conversation up, that say, yeah, I lost 100,000 XRP in Celsius. Yeah, and remember, when that went bust, XRP was cheap. And so it wasn't really that big of a deal for people to have 50,000 XRP or 100,000 XRP, right? XRP was at 50 cents. So if you had 100,000 XRP, you're talking about 50 grand, which, you know, they might have put 100,000 XRP in that protocol and then had another 100,000 XRP. And so they're thinking to themselves, you know, this is a little bit risky, but, and what ends up happening is the first payments come in. And then, you know, word's getting out. Oh, you're making how much on Celsius? You're making how much at this XYZ DeFi protocol? And the new money keeps pouring in until eventually it goes bust. And then now we have story upon story of people that got wrapped up in that or other schemes that inevitably ended up blowing up. And so this is what I'm warning. Don't get too anxious yet. Right? I minted 190 XRP to move over to Flare. Not 1,000, not 10,000, 190. Which, if XRP is going to 10,000, I guess that is a pretty big bag. We're going to have a good laugh on that. You know, if I'm throwing XRP around to some of these protocols and we'll see how we do. And maybe I will get burned on a couple, but at least I'll only be getting burned on a couple hundred XRP. That's the beauty of the XRP ledger, is you could go try out the AMM with 5 XRP. You know, if you want to just dip your toes in the water, you can do that. Let's get back to rapid fire Q&A, guys. Thank you so much. More XLM or SHX. Thanks, Zach. Yeah, I mean, I don't own either one right now. I went to go buy more XLM the other day, and I bought Axelar, AXL. I literally bought and loaded up on Axelar, making it one of my top holdings right before that dev team left. Now, the good news is that the new team actually just helped Ripple do a big update to the XRP ledger. So I know there was a lot of FUD going on around about Axelar, and even myself, I was like, holy crap. I was thinking to myself, well, I guess it's been a while since I got smacked up by this market. And so I thought maybe, okay, I'm cooked. I went in heavy on Axelar. But then this dev team comes out the next day, and they just did a huge deal with Ripple and the XRP ledger. And then I've already reached out to their team. I'm going to be getting them on the show here shortly too. So I'm going to get you guys the Axelar update here shortly. But all that to say that I went into Axelar instead of XLM or SHX, which both are coins that I've owned in the past and that I have higher targets on. But I thought the Axelar was going to be a better opportunity if Axelar just goes back to, 50 cents, even upwards of $1. I mean, it's a tremendous opportunity, way better than XLM going to $1 or SHX, currently, back down. I think it does come back down into a buying opportunity. As far as which one would I buy out of the two, I probably would look at SHX as far as having more upside, although I still am bullish on XLM, and I always say it's sneaky. XLM and Stellar will just come out of nowhere, and so you kind of have to keep a bag. It'll ride with XRP, and then randomly it'll just pump out of nowhere too. And so I like both, but as far as more ROI in the next bull run, I would say SHX has more opportunity. Yeah, SHX. But I like both. I do like both, and I can't give you financial advice. But if it was up to me, I'm probably looking at SHX. Zach, mainstream media saying 75%. Yep, we did get the 25 basis point rate hike from the Bank of Japan tonight. And that's why I was excited to do this live show tonight. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun covering it live. The market's bounced back up because the market was expecting this. So the market got what we were looking for. The big concern was that they were going to raise by 50 or even 75 basis points, which were really unfounded rumors. There really wasn't any reason why they needed to do that. Inflation's tame. It's not out of control. Oil continues to go down. And so there really wasn't a reason for that. I'd seen like just random publications and Twitter accounts were just throwing that out there. And I think that, I don't know if they were confused or they were just trying to, you know how it is on Twitter. People were just trying to get clicks and stuff. And so I don't know where really that was coming from. But regardless, we were pricing in 25%. We were expecting it. And that's what we got. So yeah, now this is the highest interest rates in 30 years, though, in Japan. So the Japan carry trade continues to unwind, but as I covered earlier in the update, it is still profitable for right now. There still is margin. There still is some meat on that bone for now, right? So we'll be watching. We're going to have to see a big catalyst to get the Bank of Japan to raise rates substantially. Okay, Mrs. Claus, Levi did a great video Tuesday on why XRP can't hit 10,000, but so many still say that XRP is the next Bitcoin. If X has utility and value, but Bitcoin doesn't, why and how did Bitcoin ever go to 125,000 with no real value? I saw that he put that video out. I didn't watch it. And we've talked about this in the past. It does not take... Levi needs to go watch my market cap multiplier videos, right? Where we explain with data. I mean, I just did a multiplier update. The update that I dropped yesterday was titled XRP 500x multiplier. And everybody rushed, oh, this is clickbait. What are you talking about? There's no 500x on the chart. I'm like, well, if you watch the video before commenting, I showed it. I was talking about a 15-minute candle where XRP's market cap grew by 3.7 billion, but we only had 6.8 million of inflows. So what Levi did, I already know what he did without watching the video, is he said that for XRP to be 10,000, it's bigger than the GDP of the world. Yes, but it doesn't take that market cap in terms of inflows for XRP to go to that price. So I'm not saying that we're going to 10,000. I'm just saying you have to understand what market cap is and what market cap isn't. And to get to a, XXXXX market cap, we don't need, 50 trillion to come into the asset. What is it? I've explained this before. This multiplier really was eye-opening for myself and for many people in the community, because what it did was it gave us so much more conviction in the potential of those high prices for XRP. Because at $100 XRP, that would be a market cap of 6 trillion. But what this multiplier has shown us is that we don't need 6 trillion in inflows to get there. We're watching. And by the way, the multiplier update that I did yesterday was over a 15-minute window. And some folks are saying, oh, that's 15 minutes. That doesn't work over long duration. Wrong. I went back, if you go look at my November 2024 multiplier update. In the month of November 2024, the market cap multiplier was 800. Meaning that for every dollar that came into XRP in inflows, the market cap grew by 800. Now, when you talk about billions starting to come into XRP, right? Right. Well, that's simple math. If a billion comes in and we add a 500x multiplier, right? That's 500 billion of market cap growth. The reason why this happens is because market cap is a snapshot of the weather. I mean, it's a snapshot of the last traded price by the circulating supply, right? But how did you get there? Right? How do we get to $100 XRP and a $6 trillion market cap? Do we need 6 trillion in inflows? We don't. And so I know what Levi was trying to say in that video, that we can't go to 10,000. It's going to take a lot for us to get to 10,000. And by my estimates, we would need at least 100 to 300 billion of inflows into XRP to see a 6 trillion market cap and a $100 XRP. So is it impossible? No. Was $100 XRP going to happen this year? or $1,000 XRP or $10,000 XRP? No. I've said that all year long because I started looking at this multiplier in the inflow order book analysis in November of 2024 through the end of the year into the first part of 2025. That's when it was all new to me. And I started crunching all these numbers and we started putting together these videos. And when we started to look at, okay, how high can XRP go this year? Right? And people were wanting it to go to big numbers. And I just, at $100 XRP, you're talking about at the time, it was about a 5 trillion market cap because the circulating supply of XRP was under 60 billion. Now our circulating supply is above 60 billion. So it's easy math. 60 billion times $100 is a $6 trillion market cap. But based off of my estimates, conservatively, we would need at least 100 to 300 billion of inflows to see us grow that fast. And it doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen in a month. I don't even think it happens in a year, which is why I said all year long that we weren't going to see $100 XRP. I know that you saw a TikTok. That said, on the ISO date, XRP is going to 22,000. And I love some of these videos, man. It cracks me up. On the ISO date, $22,000 XRP. And so this is why we've continued to share this multiplier analysis to show you how easy it is going to be to move XRP. Now, is XRP going to 10,000? I hold it to 100. And to me, we are at $100 XRP by 2030. We are way behind schedule. I thought that we were going to be at 589, $1,000 XRP back in 2020. I'm looking at the riddles. I'm doing conspiracies. I'm literally FOMOing in with all of my money to buy XRP as fast as possible because I thought that the bear was telling us that XRP was going to 589 in 2020. It's part of maturing in the XRP family. I love the bear. I can't wait to see what the Bearable guy shares with us this Christmas. I love our lore. I love it. I love the bear. I love it. But to me, when I look at agendas, I'm not even going to say, I want to be careful with my words. When I look at agendas, timelines, where are we at? The date 2030 is where we have our target set. And I think that you're in just a fundamentally different reality in many ways, not just in regards to XRP price, but I mean, the returns of even just going to $100 by 2030 is an opportunity that doesn't come in our lifetimes again. And we really have to take a step back and understand that. Because when I talk about XRP going to just $20, you got some people that say it's never going to go to $20. And then you got some people that say, we're not here for $20. If it only goes to $20 next year, it's a failure. I'm like, you realize that's 1,000% return gains in a year. That is unheard of in Wall Street. That's not how markets work. That's an anomaly. It's one that's possible, very possible. In fact, I still have my targets of 15 to 20 for next year. You know, guys, for any of the trolls and the haters in the chat, you don't have to ask me about, 7 to 15. You don't have to ask me about $20 XRP this year. We missed. You don't have to ask me about it. Just say, Zach, you were wrong. Zach, you suck. Hit the thumbs down. Leave that comment. That's good. Yes. Wrong. Why were we? And are we still on target? as I've been saying this whole live show, we're still on target to reach our destination. We just hit some bumps along the road. Oh, you're moving the goalpost. This market's always moving. And I'll just speak for myself as a content creator. There is no price where I go away. This show doesn't stop. I love this. I love analyzing markets, current events, and putting it all together. So in 2030, at a $100 XRP, Tuesday, Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And maybe at that point, I'm going to have to shift my schedule because I'll be going to my kid's ball game, but I'm still going to be here. The goalposts are moving. No, we're always trying to hunt down the target because I'm not leaving these markets and I'm not leaving this platform. So yeah, we're always going to have new goalposts. We're always going to show up to bat and be swinging because we're here to make generational wealth. And I'll just say this, for me, my timeline now that I look at, when I look at my life, I got about 9, almost 10 years, 9 years out of my, what was it, 10 years? Yeah, 9 years. I got 9 years out of my last valve in my heart, right? I had heart surgery when I was 21, almost 22, in 2016. And then here we are in 2025. And it's expected that I should be able to last another 9, 10 years. And then I'll have to have another heart surgery. And so for me, I just take a step back. I say, praise God, thankful to be alive. Let's go make some more babies and let's go create generational wealth. And I have 10 years to do so. Now, the odds of me coming out of the other side of that surgery are very high. I will. I'm going to make it. But you never know. And so I give myself 10 years of runway here. God willing. That's all I ask God for. I thank God for the opportunity. I don't even ask God for give me this, give me that. I say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of something that's bigger than myself. Thank you for allowing me to resist the evil that we see on this planet. That's what I'm thankful for. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for being here. That's it. Right? And I think that this community in particular, we were so far ahead. This is why we made it to XRP, is we were so far ahead down the rabbit holes in conspiracy, understanding the Federal Reserve. We woke up, a lot of people woke up in 2020. I've always said, I woke up back in 2012 when Ron Paul was running for president. And I fell in love with his ideas and his philosophies. And he woke me up to the Federal Reserve. So back when I was in high school, that's when I realized they were lying to us. And it started with the Fed. And that was the foundation for where we are at right now today, and why I have such a deep understanding of these issues and these topics that we talk about every day. And I thought we were going to dismantle the Fed before 2020. I thought that we were going to be dismantling the Fed. I was silly enough to think that a third party, libertarian candidate had a chance. Well, actually, he was running in the Republican Party, but he basically was an outsider. He wasn't an establishment Republican, but I was silly and naive enough to think back then that he had a chance. And, I was silly enough to think that we were going to get rid of the Federal Reserve in the next few years. Here we are in 2025. Like I said, I was thinking that we were going to $500 or $1,000 XRP back in 2020. We're at $2 freaking right now. Does that mean I'm giving up? No. My conviction's only grown since then. And I think about what a blessing in disguise it's been. I mean, it's a test. Sure, it's been testing. Frustrating and very stressful at times. But if XRP went to 500 or $1,000 back then, I didn't have even half the bag that I have now. So it's been a blessing in disguise. I know a lot of people here in our community feel the same way about the lawsuit. The lawsuit was a blessing in disguise. Let's get back to the chat. What's a Mina? I don't know what that is. Satoshi glitch. Are you glitching, Satoshi? Who is Satoshi? Zach, tell Amina I'm good people, bro. Okay, I don't know. What's that, your girlfriend? Amina, Satoshi's a good guy. Or gal, whoever it is. And I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about here. Give me a shout out. I'll drop you $100. Okay, there's your shout out. Okay, he's good people. He's good people. And if you're doubting his investment in XRP, it's all good. I was talking with my grandma before I got on the live tonight. She called me, and I offered to send her the link to the show. She said she couldn't watch the show. I said, Grammy, come on, you're missing out on the alpha. My own grandma. It really be your own people, right? My grandma, God bless her. I scare her because she was talking about something, and I said, well, you know, we're gonna, she asked me what I was gonna talk about tonight. And I said, you know, we're gonna talk about inflation. We're gonna talk about the Bank of Japan raising rates and what this means for the markets. And oh yeah, that inflation. And I said, yes, Grammy, this is why I went all in on XRP and silver. Oh, why'd you do that? I said, Grammy, silver's outperforming the stock market by a multiple of 6. We're doing 6 times better than the S&P 500. Oh, wow. Well, I don't worry about that, but I worry about your XRP. I said, don't worry, Grammy. It's okay. God bless her. God bless her. I got to get my grandma tuning in here for the alpha. Okay. What do we got, Dennis, here? Thank you. As a bank, Ripple will cust 4 escrow future buyers. Cut off? 4 escrow futures buyers. Dennis, not sure what you meant there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we know that they have so many pre-allocation contracts, and some of these were for just huge chunks of the XRP supply. I mean, I put out the question the other day, what's up with R3? They're going all in on Solana. They're building on Solana, speaking at the Solana conference. But you ask their executives about XRP and they say, that's the one crypto we can't talk about. One of those things that makes you go, really? Either they fully exited out of XRP and they full ported to other crypto. And obviously, Corda-Settler is a blockchain agnostic platform. We've talked about this before. It's not that R3 was only ever going to just use XRP, right? But XRP was the first cryptocurrency that was available on Corda-Settler. But I asked the question, where's R3 with their billion XRP? For those of you guys who don't know, this was a pre-allocation contract. It was an options contract that Ripple did with R3 back in 2016, where they were they gave R3 the option to buy 5 billion XRP at less than a penny. Well, then XRP starts the 2017 bull run, and Ripple sues, I forget who sued who, but basically they end up in a lawsuit. Long story short, they end up settling up, and R3 gets to claim a billion XRP. But we haven't heard them talk about it since. And when asked about it in interviews, they said that's the one crypto we can't talk about. So it's either they full ported out of XRP and got rid of it. I don't believe that. Or they're still sitting on 1 billion XRP, or at least a good chunk, and they have some future plans for it. But that contract alone, right, shows us that at one point Ripple had allocated 5% of the entire supply to one party. And we know of thousands of contracts since then, per the court documents. And so I think that we're in for some fun times here in the next year. If that Clarity Act gets passed and that 20% rule comes out, like I said, you guys aren't going to want to miss the next update because I'm going to break this down. I have the Clarity Act printed out right here. I didn't print out all of the pages, but just 3 of the pages that are relevant to the conversation. But I'm telling you right now, word on the street, or in this case, word from the top brass at Ripple, they don't want to sell. They want to stop selling XRP. And now that they have the stablecoin business, the custody business, their payments business, they don't need to sell XRP to make money. Now, obviously, it's a chunk of change, right? It's a good way to make some cash. Not bad, right? Their cost basis is 0, so they can sell XRP at any price. It's just cash in the bank. But from what I'm hearing, they do not want to sell XRP anymore, or at least stop here soon. And as we continue to say, it's hard for people to see it now. A lot of people don't believe in the supply shock because we thought that the supply shock was going to come this year, last year. In 2020, we thought the supply shock was going to come. Like I said, I've been thinking that the supply shock and a $589 XRP was going to be here back in 2020. But just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We will see a supply shock at some point. And it's because of many reasons, but mostly because there's just so many people holding it that aren't going to be using it for liquidity, for DeFi, for anything. And then even when XRP does get put into DeFi, that's XRP that can't be used by Ripple for cross-border payments, right? Brad Garlinghouse says that they're going to take 14% of Swift. So if you just do the math on doing 14% of Swift, you either need a lot of XRP or you need a higher price of XRP. There's only 2 ways to get that deal done. And if Ripple has their XRP tied up, right, in their banking business, they got a lending platform. They obviously are doing cross-border payments in other areas. They're doing treasury management now, a G Treasury. They got the Ripple Prime brokerage. They have the XRP that's in escrow can't be used for cross-border payments or anything else either. If you look, the Ripple has less than 10 billion XRP actually free and available to them for them to use. And actually, when we were still getting the market reports from Ripple, they were noting in 2022, I believe was the year, they sold off 10 billion XRP, but they bought back 9 billion. This is the part that people don't get. And it's what I'm saying. We still have so much to do on the educational front because there's still so many people that believe Ripple sells 1 billion XRP every month. And it's never been the case. Ever. Since they created the escrow, they never have dumped 1 billion at the start of the month. Ever. And if you look at the portion of XRP that they are selling, it's all OTC, so it doesn't impact the market. It's always less than 1% of the daily volume. It's nothing. Even if it were on the open market, it's very small. I know people that narrative doesn't fly with the fudsters. That doesn't help them. Zach, any news from Japan? Yeah. They raised rates by 25 basis points. Let's go back to it. Up North Tickets, thank you. No question, just saying thanks to you, Jake, and Mickle for all that you do to educate us. You are my 3 go-to guys in the industry. Keep it up. Yeah, thank you for the support. We appreciate everybody that's getting out the word here in the XRP family. It's a team effort. Legend, I saw you're going to bed, Legend. Thank you for the super chat. Japan likely to raise rates to 1% in mid-2026 per CNBC. Another 25 basis points. Yep. That carry trade's going to be unwinding. It's just happening a little bit slower than we had expected, huh? Appreciate that. Devil Frog, had to liquidate my retirement twice, now 5 years out. I'm dumping everything into XRP as a Hail Mary. Love your content. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. And, you know, that's the nice thing is it may make sense to take the hit now, move that XRP over to an IRA, right, with our sponsor, I Trust Capital, or with somebody else, but take the hit now, move it over to an IRA where it can then grow tax-free. Right? So if you're looking to retire here in the next 5 years, right, and then you can take profit on that tax-free. The Roth IRA, man, it's just incredible. Incredible. So powerful for building wealth and not paying taxes legally. Do you think that since we are done with the carry trade, will the XRP price go up now, or do you think the XRP will still go down? Vishal, that's a good question. I think, yeah, we kind of came to a point here. I don't know when the next Bank of Japan meeting is going to take place, if they have one in January or something like that. So it'll come up again. And just like Legend posted there, you know, CNBC is expecting them to raise by another 25 basis points next year. But they also can do an emergency, right? So what we need to be watching is catalyst, big catalyst to hit, war popping off, something like that taking place that would cause Japan to be forced to raise rates in an emergency meeting or more than is expected. Right, then we would get the carry trade unwinding, and in that environment, XRP and all markets will go down at first. Right, if this carry trade unwinds aggressively, everything goes down. Now, should you sell off now? Some people think, oh, let me just sell off now and I'll buy when that happens. These exchanges won't be working. These exchanges, don't trust them. Do not trust them. Okay? This is why I like Caleb and Brown, is because they have dozens of market makers, OTC desks, and exchanges that they source liquidity from. So if one exchange is down, they have plenty more. We just saw today, Uphold was having issues with XRP. Coinbase was having issues with XRP. And part of that was because the XRP Ledger validators upgraded and updated, I guess I should say. And so a bunch of nodes got amendment blocked, meaning they weren't up to the current update, and so they get left behind. And I don't know exactly if that was the issue with Coinbase. I don't know what the issue with Uphold was. But these exchange, and don't play this game of, oh, I'm just going to sell off now and buy back in later. Or I'm just going to wait to buy until then. I don't think these exchanges won't be working. Look at what took place during the 10/10 liquidation event. When it hits, you won't be able to get any orders through. Nunya, thank you. Appreciate your great insight. Could XRP be at $2 6 months from now? I'm watching to see if we can break back up to that all-time high in Q1 of 2026. But I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm very firm on how this plays out. We get this run up to $5 and $10, huge sell-off, back down to $3-4. So no, I don't think once we go back up to the new all-time high, I don't see us coming back down to $2. Unless we only make it to like $4 or $5. If we only make it to $4 or $5, potentially. But if we go up, $6, $7, $8, which I think we will, we can cut it in half and go back to the all-time high, which is, $3.50 to $4. And that would be our new floor. Which I know doesn't sound as great as going to $100, or going to $50 and establishing a floor price up at 20 or 30. That day is coming, but we got to take this one step at a time. We got to take it one order block at a time. And there's just a massive sell wall between $5 and $10. So we got to go in, wipe that out. Some of you guys in the chat, even I plan on selling just a small amount between $5 and $10. And by the way, the amount that I'm selling, the orders that I have to sell between $5 and $10 is part of my trading bag. It's not even part of my long-term holdings. It's my trading bag that is meant to make more dollars, not hold XRP. So my long-term holdings of XRP, I'm not selling under $10. So I want to give you guys that context. I'm not here to sell under $10. It's my trading bag, okay? Completely separate from my main holdings. But we got to get that out of the way. You wipe out all of that sell wall, come back down to $3, $4, and then we can start to build up to double digits. Satoshi Glitch, you are a man of your word. I have no idea what you were asking me to say as far as shouting out Amina. But I do appreciate the super chat there, sir. Thank you. Dennis, thank you for the 5 spot. Ripple will control sold escrow and custody. Yes, exactly. So they have the ability to sell off the XRP to their partners, but then be the custodians. I see what you're saying now, Dennis. Yeah, 100%. I saw another super chat here that I missed from Rio Jack J. Appreciate you, brother. Let me see, where was that at? Yeah, Rio Jack. Hey, Zach, I've been laying low for a while. Great reflection time for me. Enjoying these low prices and buying when I can, expecting big things in 2026. Your message is kind of cut off. I wish I could see it. But it's all, yep, the timeline. Yep, we got timelines off. I know. We're a little bit behind schedule, but we're all good in gold and silver. Absolutely, brother. Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a few more minutes here. Get in your last questions, comments. Everything's available at my website, zachrector.com. We ran up this chat to 27,000 people tonight between YouTube, X, and TikTok. Could not do it without your support. You guys are amazing. I love each and every single one of you guys. You make this so much fun. Pegasus, you got your chat back in there. Thank you for the chat. How will this Japan tax hike impact XRP, Wall Street, gold, and silver coming around 2026? Well, we basically already priced in the rate hike that they just did, and that was downside action, right? So how's it going to impact? It already brought us down to $1. What did we go down to? $1.78. So it already brought us back down. But the good news is, now we're clear to start moving back up again. And we have big tailwinds from, back here at home, QE, lower rates, Clarity Act, and then specifically for XRP, a lot of great developments taking place in DeFi, etc. And so we're good for now. We're in the clear for now. We can start to move back up. But Japan still has a major issue. So any big catalyst hits, that's the big one. Now, for many of us, we would just rather rip the Band-Aid off. Even in the crypto space, we used to say this before. If Tether's going to blow up, let's do it. Right? If Tether's going to go, let's get it done with. If Ethereum or Bitcoin or all three of them together are going to go, let's get it over with. Right? The stock market, we know that it's pretty extended. Rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. I know a lot of us feel this way in politics. Stop with the slow roll. Stop with the retractions. Let all truth be revealed. If it's ugly, it's ugly. Give us the truth. But for now, the Japan carry trade is unwinding slowly. No panic yet. And so the coast is clear for us to start moving back up. Okay? And I know people want to say that we're not going to do anything till the Clarity Act passes. Wrong. Wrong. In my opinion. Just one guy here giving his analysis. I've been wrong in the past. I will be wrong in the future. Heads up. I will be wrong in the future about something. I'm not perfect. And I ask God for forgiveness every day. In my opinion, you're going to see a buy the rumor, sell the news. And you're going to see XRP in this broader market rally before the Clarity Act passes. Look at what happened with the Bitcoin ETFs. Just off the rumor that they were going live in October of 2023, Bitcoin rallied from 25,000 to 50,000 by the time they went live. And then when it went live, it dumped by 20%. So I think that you're going to have a great buying opportunity the day after the Clarity Act passes. The day of or the day after, we'll probably pull back. We're going to rally leading up to it, and then you'll get a little bit of a sell-off. Now, people that are saying, well, we're not going to go to, 10, 20, 30, or $100 till after the Clarity Act is passed, I would agree. 100%. Yeah. I'm talking about running back up to $4 to $8 before the Clarity Act passes. That's my expectation for Q1. $4 to $8 before Clarity Act. I know it's not as fun and exciting and sexy as $100 or $20 or. Thank God there's no more ISO dates. That was the worst. On this next ISO date, 20,000, baby. Thank goodness ISO's done. And that's part of adoption too, right? Now that ISO's live, everybody has to be on board. That's a step in the right direction. Was an ISO date ever going to take us to 10,000? No. But is ISO part of a fundamental piece of our infrastructure that takes us to higher prices? Yes. But I think that people are going to get caught off guard thinking that they can wait till the Clarity Act passes to invest in crypto. We're going to see a pump before that. I don't want you to miss it. Husker Nation, thank you. I've allocated 10% of my retirement account into XRPC. Can you explain how price appreciation affects shares when XRP price goes up? I also own XRP as well. Yeah, very simple. The way that these ETFs are structured is on most of them, there's 20 XRP behind each share. Or, no, it's 10. Right? With Canary, I think it's 10. Because when it launched, XRP was at like 230. And I bought 3 shares when it went live and it cost me like $70. And so there's 10 XRP. It's like 10 or 11 XRP behind every share of the ETF. So you'll see price appreciation, right? If XRP goes to, oh gosh, it's too late for me to be doing this mental math. What would the math be then? If it went to $10 and let's see, there's 10 shares behind each one. So share is going to be $100. $100 per share. That's actually very simple math. Sorry, it's getting late. Yeah, 10 times 10, right? With Grayscale, there's 20 XRP, I think. It's like 19, 20 XRP behind each share. So as far as that goes, yeah, I mean, your ETF is going to appreciate right in line there with XRP. Yep. Dennis Did you know that big BlackRock office is in Jake's building? Jake implies a multi-token heavy in XRP. Yeah. I was very impressed when I went to Dallas. That is setting up to be a new hub of capital, of markets. It's cooking in Dallas. Dallas has a lot going for it. Yeah, I'm bullish on Dallas. The real estate market's a different story. Oversupply on construction, so it's cooling off, but that's a different story. The capital market's moving down there, the Texas Stock Exchange, it's happening. Yeah. Yep. We had a really good time down there in Dallas, other than the humidity. Us soft folks up here from the Pacific Northwest, we're not used to the extremes. That, well, it was still 85, 90 at night with terrible humidity. Ridiculous. Yeah. So, no, it's big. It's big. Yeah, I'm bullish. Then you better not come to Florida. I do want to come to Florida, but I know what to expect down there. Yeah. I didn't realize how bad that humidity can get in Texas too. But yeah, in Florida, I expect it. Absolutely. Guys, we've ran it up for over 2 hours tonight. Over 28,000 people is the final tally in tonight's party. It's a good time. It's good to see. Let's get one more check on the price here before we check out for the night. Still holding up. Still holding up. Let's go to the... I want to go to the 15-minute chart here to see what we did. Very good action here. Very good action. Bitcoin moving right back up to 87.5 and then cooling off right now here at about 87,000 as we finish this update. It's 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So it is a quarter past midnight on the East Coast. XRP chilling here at $1.83, did pop up to about $1.85. So it looks like that was your low. Let me go to this chart. Looks like that your low might have come in here. It's always tough to trade these moments. It's like when we get a Federal Reserve interest rate day, right? Jerome Powell says one thing and then the market craps back out again, right? So you never trust the first couple hours or even the first day. The first day that you get the activity, you can't really trust it. And the other thing too is that this is hitting the only market in town to react is crypto. I guess I can look at the futures real quick. Let's see what our gold and silvers are doing right now. Gold at 4,348 and silver still at $65 per ounce. Crude oil, WTI, is at 56, so still low on the lows for the year. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything too big. Let me go check our currency pairing here, USD versus JPY. Yeah, we got some big volatility. I mean, it popped back up to 156, but it's been cooling off here. Cooling off from the level that it went to. Let me show you the daily chart so you can see what I'm talking about. So right at the end of November, when our market was going back down, right, crypto market was going back down, that's when that USD versus JPY pairing here was getting back into the danger territory up here towards 158. But then it started to come back down. And on the day, the dollar is gaining against the Japanese yen. That's the final tally as we sign off for the night. I appreciate all of you guys for stopping by here on the way out. If you guys could, please help us out by liking this video, sharing it out far and wide. Really had a good time tonight breaking all of this down for you guys. Like I said, I got a new update that's coming here in the next day or so that I think you guys are going to really appreciate. And so as we sign off here tonight, I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here with us. I know a lot of this market is capitulating, is giving up. Clearly, our community is not. We just keep pushing. We keep showing up every day, and you will be rewarded for that. And we really do appreciate it, okay? Everything's available at my website, zachrector.com. You guys have a great evening, and we'll be back tomorrow with another update, okay? Thank you, and God bless.